Neighbor calls cops on black teen with a laptop. He barely had time to look up before the gun was pointed at his face. One moment, the quiet tap of plastic keys, the soft whir of a battered laptop, a teenage boy hunched on a crumbling porch beneath the heavy sun. The next, the metallic click of a police safety snapping off, a world of grown men and accusations looming over him. 14-year-old Trevin didn't even flinch. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, sweat beading along his brow not from fear, but concentration. The world wanted him to freeze, to panic, to drop his hands, but Trevin just stared up, eyes wide, not at the guns but at the men's faces. He'd been here before in a way, but never like this. "Put your hands where I can see them, now!" The cop's voice thundered, echoing off the peeling paint of the porch, waking every window on the block. In the middle of the street, neighbors poked through curtains, a small crowd already gathering in whispers, no one stepping outside. He saw her standing at the edge of her immaculate lawn. Mrs. Brenner, arms crossed, lips pinched, eyes radiating that special kind of certainty that could only belong to someone who had never, ever questioned if they belonged here. Trevin's laptop scuffed, second-hand, the O key missing, blinked with code. He'd been writing for hours, headphones long since dead, the neighborhood slipping away as lines of logic took shape. The app he was building, nobody else needed to know what it was. Not even Mrs. Brenner, who'd watched him for weeks with that squint that always meant trouble was coming. But trouble arrived faster than he expected. 2 police cruisers screeched to a halt, engines coughing, officers pouring out hands on guns, voices hard, eyes harder. The air vibrated with power, a collision of blue uniforms and a single black kid with a laptop, framed in the doorway of a peeling rented house. Trevin's heart thudded, his palms prickling on the warm plastic of his computer. Don't reach. Don't move. Don't even blink wrong. He looked past the officers to the edge of the crowd, Mrs. Brenner's silver phone still pressed to her ear, her gaze meeting his. No apology, no question, just certainty. "What's your name, son?" barked the first officer, a broad man with sweat darkening the edge of his vest. The second officer's hand didn't leave his holster. Trevin's throat worked. "Trevin Jackson," he managed. "I live here. Step away from the computer, right now." He did, sliding his chair back slowly, hands open, palms up. He kept his movements careful, controlled. Everything in him screamed to explain, but he'd learned long ago. Explanations didn't matter until they wanted to hear them. The cop's radio crackled. Neighbors whispered. "He's just a kid," someone muttered. "That's Mrs. Taylor's grandson, right?" But the officers weren't listening to the crowd. They were listening to Mrs. Brenner, who marched over, phone in hand, voice sharp as glass. "I saw him hacking something. He's always on that machine. I told you, officer, I think he's breaking into people's Wi-Fi or—" "Ma'am, step back," the cop interrupted, but he was already eyeing the laptop with suspicion. "What are you doing out here, Trevon?" He swallowed. His mouth tasted like metal. "I'm coding." "Coding what?" The officer sneered like it was a joke. Trevin's hands trembled as he turned the screen toward them. "It's for my sister. She can't walk. I'm making an app to help her open the door and turn on the lights. See? On the screen. Not black windows of hacking software, not a single thing illegal. Just simple icons, lamp, door, window, and a string of code in green and blue." But the officers barely glanced. "Don't touch anything," the cop said. "Step away." He motioned to his partner, who reached down and yanked the laptop cord, snapping it free. Trevin flinched but said nothing. "Where are your parents?" demanded the cop. "My mom's at work. My sister's inside." His voice was quiet. "She can't come out." The cop's partner clicked his tongue, clearly annoyed at being called for a nothing situation, but he kept his hand near his sidearm all the same. From behind, a small voice. "Trey?" A girl, maybe 10, peered through the cracked screen door, a wheelchair barely visible behind her. Her voice was thin, uncertain. "Are you okay?" "Back inside, Deja," Trevin called, his voice trembling now, anger rising with the fear. "It's fine. Just go inside." She hesitated, then vanished. Mrs. Brenner pressed forward, voice trembling with righteous energy. "That's the sister. She's always letting him bring that laptop outside. You know they had trouble at the last place they lived, someone told me." Trevin's vision blurred. The porch, the cop, the laptop, the world shrank to a pinpoint. Stay calm. You can't fight what they already believe. A second neighbor, Mr. Pearson, called out, "Come on, leave the boy alone. That's just Trevin. He's a smart kid." But Mrs. Brenner's voice carried further, laced with certainty. "You never know these days. They can do anything with those things, hack your bank, steal your ID, break into your house. He's always typing out here like he owns the place." For a long moment, the world stood still. Trevin looked up at the cop, trying to steady his breathing, trying to hold back everything he wanted to say. Why is it always me? Why are you so quick to believe her and not me? Why can't I just exist on my own porch, with my own dreams without becoming a threat? But the words stayed trapped behind his teeth. The officer turned the laptop around. "What is this?" Trevin forced himself to speak. It's for accessibility, for my sister. She can't use the regular switches, so I made something she can control with her phone." The second cop squinted at the screen, finally focusing. "Is this real?" Trevin nodded, barely breathing. "It's just code. For her. That's all." A slow hush crept through the neighborhood, an expectant, uneasy silence. Mrs. Brenner folded her arms tighter, as if daring anyone to challenge her. The officer's posture shifted, unease creeping in. The weight of accusation and the threat of violence still lingering started to loosen. But for Trevin, the mark was already made. The shame, the humiliation, the knowledge that his dream, his attempt to help, had just been turned against him by a single phone call and a pair of frightened eyes. He watched as the cop scrolled through his code, as if searching for something criminal in the lines of logic and hope he'd built for his sister. He watched as the world decided, again, that someone like him didn't belong, not even here, not even for this. And as the sun dipped behind the houses and the crowd whispered, "And Mrs. Brenner glared down at him with all the certainty of someone who'd never been accused of anything, Trevin realized. It didn't matter how careful you were, how kind, how brilliant, how necessary. To them, he would always be a threat before he was a boy. But the code was still running, blinking gently on the battered screen. And Trevin's jaw set, eyes shining, wasn't about to shut it down. He should have been back at his desk by now, debugging, checking lines, listening for Deja's laugh through the half-open window. But instead, Trevin was watching his life become a cautionary tale for the whole block, neighbors murmuring, cops lingering, Mrs. Brenner's certainty coiling tighter with every minute. The officers talked in low voices by the squad car, the laptop still in their hands. A walkie-talkie squawked, "Any priors on the kid?" Trevin heard the question float through the air, casual as a weather report, but it cut like glass. No one asked him what he was building. No one asked what it cost to help his sister, what it felt like to be 14 with the world already sure of your guilt. Inside the house, Deja pressed her face against the glass, eyes wide, scared. Trevin flashed a small, crooked smile. It's okay, but she didn't move. He saw the shadow of her wheelchair in the dark hallway, heard the anxious tap of her fingers on the window frame. He'd promised her, "I'll build it for you. I'll make it work." Every night since the accident, he'd coded late, YouTube tutorials, begged for old equipment on local message boards. Sometimes his mom watched, worried but proud, as he soldered wires late into the night, Deja's voice in the background. "When's it gonna work, Trey?" But this morning, she'd smiled for the first time in weeks when the lights flickered on with a swipe of her finger. "You did it," she whispered. "No one else did. Just him." And now, the world wanted to take it away. The police questioned him for almost an hour. What was he doing? Did he know hacking was a crime? Where did he get the laptop? Who owned the Wi-Fi? Did he have permission to be here? Trevin answered, steady, clear, voice trembling only once when they asked, "Are you sure you're not breaking into something?" He wanted to shout, "I'm breaking through, not breaking in," but he held it in. He'd learned, don't talk back, don't get loud, don't give them an excuse. Mrs. Brenner watched from the sidewalk, arms folded like a shield. She talked to the cops, her voice climbing with each retelling. "He's always out here, always on that thing. You can't be too careful. Last week someone's car was broken into, who's to say it wasn't?" The crowd thickened. Old Mr. Pearson, who knew Trevin since he was a toddler, called out, "He's a good boy," but his voice got lost in the hum of accusation. Another neighbor whispered, "You know how these things start." Someone else, "I knew something wasn't right." Trevin's mother finally arrived, her uniform streaked with sweat, badge pinned crooked from a day at the nursing home. She saw the lights, the crowd, her son small and silent, surrounded. "What's going on?" she demanded, her voice shaking as she stepped between Trevin and the officers. "Why is my son being questioned?" one cop explained, eyes darting between her and Mrs. Brenner. He tried to keep it professional. "There was a call. Reports of suspicious activity. We have to check these things out." Trevin's mother put an arm around him, pulling him close. "My son's not a criminal. He's building something for his sister. Did you even ask him?" The officers hesitated, passing the laptop back and forth, suddenly unsure. The crowd's mood shifted, but the damage was done, the questions, the doubt, the humiliation baked into the sidewalk like old stains. Inside the house, Deja's sobs drifted through the open window. She hated the sound of sirens, hated the way the world could turn on a dime, one phone call, one concerned neighbor, and her brother was suddenly suspect. Trevin's mother fought to keep her voice steady. "If you're done here, my son and I have work to do. For his sister." The officers shuffled awkwardly, returning the laptop a little rough, a little too careless, as if it was something dangerous, not a tool of hope. But the fallout kept coming. That night, Mrs. Brenner's version of events blazed through Facebook groups and neighborhood chats. "Suspicious activity averted on our street. Be vigilant." Trevin's name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew. Photos from the scene of Trevin on the porch, laptop in lap, officers all around circulated with the casual cruelty of gossip. His mother scrolled through her phone after dinner, hands shaking, reading the comments. "We need to move. Where's the father? Why are kids out late on a school night?" Trevin saw it too, saw the accusations, the side eyes at the grocery store the next morning. The teachers at school who called him aside. Is everything all right at home? Never asking what he'd been building, never asking how it felt. Mrs. Brenner didn't apologize, she doubled down. "I did what I had to do," she insisted, voice clipped when Trevin's mother confronted her. "It's not personal." But it was always personal. Pressure built inside Trevin a silent storm. The more they doubted, the harder he worked. He locked himself in his room, coding deep into the night, fingers aching, eyes raw, breaking through walls with logic and hope. The house became a fortress. His mother kept her phone near at all times. Deja's chair never strayed far from Trevin's door. But the world outside kept closing in. The local paper published a story. "Police respond to possible cyber threat in quiet neighborhood. No name, no retraction, no context, only shadows, only doubt." Yet Trevin refused to break. Every line of code was a protest, every update an act of resistance. He added new features to the app: voice control, security camera integration, facial recognition. He posted the code online, anonymized but open source, and watched strangers on forums call it genius, revolutionary, the future. But at home, the stares, the whispers, the sense of being hunted never faded. One night, long after Deja had gone to bed and his mother had stopped crying in the kitchen, Trevin sat at his desk, the glow of the laptop painting his face in blue and gold. His hands shook not from fear, but from fury. He knew he couldn't win their approval. He knew they would never see him as anything but a threat. But he could show them what they'd almost destroyed. He could make something they couldn't ignore. And he would. The morning after the worst week of his life, Trevin woke up to the sound of his phone buzzing. At first, he thought it was another notification from the neighborhood watch group, or maybe some new message filled with thinly veiled suspicion. But when he picked up, it wasn't hate. It was hope. "Hi, is this Trevin Jackson? This is Sarah with WJKT News. We saw your accessibility project online and we'd love to talk to you." He nearly dropped the phone. "You saw what?" "Your app, Trevin. It's all over Twitter. People are sharing it everywhere. We'd love to do a story." He blinked, stunned. All over Twitter? His code had gone viral. He barely remembered uploading it, half in defiance, half in desperation, the night after the police came. Someone had found it, shared it, called it brilliant, life-changing for people with disabilities. His inbox was filling with messages from programmers, parents, even people in other countries asking, "Can you help my son? Can you show me how you did this?" He thought it was a prank, but then he checked the trending tab. Porch coder, real hero, access for all. Thousands of posts, some furious about what happened, some sharing stories of their own. Photos of him, yes, but now with headlines like, Teen builds app for disabled sister cops called by suspicious neighbor. Trevin's world flipped. Suddenly, the story wasn't about a dangerous hacker. It was about a 14-year-old innovator protecting his sister, building a future from a broken laptop and a mountain of doubt. The calls kept coming. A local news crew wanted an interview. A disability rights group asked if he'd speak at their event. A message from an MIT admissions officer appeared in his inbox. Your project demonstrates exceptional skill, creativity, and compassion. If you're interested, we'd like to discuss a future scholarship and mentorship program. For a long moment, Trevin couldn't speak. He stared at the screen, heart pounding, hands trembling not from fear this time, but from something deeper. Joy, pride, vindication. In the hallway, Deja watched quietly, her hands folded in her lap. Did they like it? She asked. He nodded, grinning. They loved it, Day. They really did. Word spread faster than he could keep up. The news vans arrived. The principal called him into the office not to scold, but to apologize, her eyes shining. We're so sorry, Trevin. We had no idea, but he did. He always did. The next day, the school auditorium was packed. Trevin sat on stage, his battered laptop beside him, Deja beaming from her chair in the front row. Reporters, parents, teachers, even the mayor sat waiting. The principal stepped up. We are here to recognize a remarkable act of innovation and courage. Trevin Jackson, who not only stood up for his sister, but showed all of us what technology can do when it comes from the heart. He heard the applause, but what mattered most was Deja's smile. When they called him to the mic, he saw Mrs. Brenner standing at the back, arms folded, face unreadable. For a moment, he almost felt sorry for her almost. He took a deep breath and spoke, voice steady, clear. I just wanted to help my sister. I never thought it would be a big deal. But if people see what we built, maybe they'll see kids like us aren't the threat, they're the solution. A hush fell. Then the applause roared, louder than anything he'd ever heard. But the story wasn't over. That night, a city council meeting erupted as neighbors demanded answers not from Trevin, but from the system that let profiling happen again and again. Parents called out Mrs. Brenner by name. Others shared their own stories, stopped for walking while black, harassed for being out of place. The mayor promised change. The chief of police called Trevin's mother to apologize in person. By the weekend, a new story was trending. Local teens app changes lives after racial profiling incident. MIT's offer letter arrived by mail. A tech foundation sent a brand new laptop with a note, "Keep building, the world needs you." Trevin sat on his porch, new computer warm in his lap, Deja by his side, her chair gleaming in the sunlight. Neighbors walked by and waved, even Mrs. Brenner, silent now, a ghost behind her curtains. He typed the final lines of code, pressed enter, and watched the lights in the house flicker just the way Deja liked. For the first time in a long time, Trevin felt safe, seen, real. The world had tried to erase him, but he'd written his own future instead. And somewhere, behind every locked door, every frightened heart, a new light was turning on.